Welcome to Poz Vibe Podcast, a podcast for HIV positive people, their friends, family and allies. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
If we were looking for a word to define Venezuelan people today, maybe precariousness could be sadly the most accurate. But also Arepa, Raguayana, Cata, Cuyagua, Choroní, and all those little towns. But we're not looking to define Venezuelan people today. We're just looking to know anecdotes, stories, and the lives of immigrants living in Ireland for over 10 years. Our country has been in the news recently for so many different polemical reasons, political, economical. And today we're just here to tell you a different side of the story. Welcome to a very special episode of the Poz Vibe podcast. Now, today, we're very, very excited to be here with you guys. It's a huge honor for me to be sitting here today. Thank you to Miss Veda and Robbie who allowed me to be here sitting to talk about our beautiful country, Venezuela. We all know that the political climate had put us in the news, had put us in the words of everyone. We all know something about Venezuela because of what is happening right now in our country. So today we're here with two beautiful guests, two of them. One of them is a really good special friend for me, and Guille that we just met recently. And we all share different stories, but at the same time, we have this connection of being Venezuelans living abroad, living in Ireland. Welcome, guys. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Hola.
Thank you. Hola.
Hola. Now, the little introduction that we just want to do about Mao, a really good friend of mine. We met each other in 2005, maybe, when we were in college, when she was hitchhiking to get a lift home, and I gave her a lift. And since then, we shared that car ride, and then we shared so many memories. One of them was moving to Ireland together. Do you remember?
Yes.
Back in 2013. Mao is an artist, a journalist, a queer creator. She's the founder of Mo Flower Art and Designs. She's a small business, creates all types of interior design, flower decorations and arrangements. And she's a really good friend of mine. She's also a mom of Tilly and the wife of Steve that I know and love very hard, dearly in my heart. Thank you so much. How are you?
I'm very good. Thank you so much for the invitation. I'm so happy to be here today.
Yeah, it's interesting to have a space to talk about our Venezuelan country, our culture, about the political situation that is happening right now.
Yeah, it's very important. I think it's a difficult situation that we're going through, and it's even difficult to explain, to talk about it for us as a Venezuelan. I think it touched a very sensitive fiber in ourselves, but I think that shouldn't stop us to talk about it, because we have to make it loud and have to make people understand what's going on. I've been living my whole life in Venezuela. I just moved to Ireland almost 13 years ago. Since the day I left, I felt that I needed a change, and I wanted to experience something completely different than what I was living back home. I felt a little bit disconnected from the country or from everything that was going through at the moment. We just left at the moment that Chavez died, and then we thought at that moment, well, this is just going to the end.
Yeah, we anticipated that it wasn't going to go as okay as as it didn't go, in a way.
Yeah. I think we were surviving at the time we were there.
And absolutely, yeah. Like
we needed to make a
30
change.
years survival mode.
Survival mode, yeah. And I think we were growing up at that time, like becoming mature adults, and I guess we needed to find our own way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here, for sharing this space with us. We also have in our house, in the playground, Guillermo, or Avatar Guille, as you may know him as well as their...
No, him.
His artistic name. Avatar Guille is from Caracas, Venezuela, the capital of our country. He is a performer, a dancer. He did creative music production as well in college here in Dublin. He's been here for 10 years recently. And yeah, you might, when you see him, you might recognize him here performing all over the country, actually. Tell us a little bit about that.
Hello, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be with both of you as well, and thank you, Vera, too, for making this space for us. So yeah, I don't know. So I think I started performing in 2022, like first time in Athlone, and then 1 week after, like Veda invited me to like the George, and I don't know. Since then, I don't know what happened. Like I just I love dancing, I love moving, and I think it connected with people in a certain way. They like the way that I move, express myself, and somehow that started connecting things around, and everything has happened so fast. I went from being at the George to then I have performed in like Cork as well, and Limerick, and in Galway as well. There is a show called Gas in Galway that is like fabulous, in the Russian Dub as well. It's such a beautiful venue, and the people is amazing over there as well.
Shout out to the Russian Dub.
Yes. So yeah, I don't know. It's been interesting to be in a place where I can express myself the way that I want to, because coming from Venezuela and, the macho culture in Venezuela about like how men should behave and what men should do, to be able to be in a place where I can just be whatever I feel I want to be, like the way that I dance, or wearing heels, 7 inches heels, and doing pole dancing or lip syncing and acting, like all of it together. I think it feels quite liberating to be in a place like this where you can be who you want to be. And I think you guys feel the same thing,
absolutely.
It's like, I think I have this little story that I like telling of arriving the first day in Ireland. Well, first of all, coming out of that plane and that wind hitting you, just freaking out. I was like, I want to go back to Venezuela with this wind. But I remember coming into the airport, and the first thing that I saw was this like ad from I think Coca-Cola, but it had 2 men in the ad as a couple.
All right.
So you can tell that it was, and when I saw that, I was like, oh, that's something that I will never see in Venezuela. And it's very interesting to come into a country and feel that you already are kind of welcome.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
100%.
100%.
Like, even though it's something so small as an ad, and maybe it doesn't show maybe the beliefs of the whole country, but just to know that a country accepts advertisement of like that, it's like, oh, this place is different, and you feel welcome straight away. And since then, seeing people in the streets holding hands, and you like gay couples, it's like, oh.
And I think it's happening in all of the sense, everywhere, for everyone in a different way, but it does. Like, you feel really welcome. I remember when I arrived as well, the first couple of months, looking for a job, and we were coming for an active background. We were actors and doing a lot of interesting stuff back home. And I think one of the things that I missed the most, I talk by myself, probably you think the same, it was just being a stage, being a stage and act. And I remember Veda was one of the first persons that opened that door for me. She was like, okay, well, you know how to do a drag show. And I was like, my dream.
we sold you as this drag performance, just landing, hot out of the oven. To do a performance in the George, and you did in Witchy Wednesday. It was beautiful.
I loved it. I loved it. I enjoyed it. And in that way, in that kind of contest, I feel extremely welcome, because I was like, okay, I'm in the stage. Yes! And I can sing and dance and be all me and all that. So it was super interesting. And then what happened after that as well, like, every single thing, of course, everything is a beautiful story and clouds and rainbows, but it is an interesting path. And I think I wouldn't change it for anything.
Absolutely. And just to touch a little bit about the queerness of, like, the situation of being queer in Venezuela, when my story is a lot related to that. I lived 26 years of my life being queer. I lived in the closet. I hid so many of my real life for so many years. I never came out of the closet. I never said it to anyone. And I know that so many people that still lives in Venezuela are under the same situation and the same circumstances. You just don't want to be the butt of the joke. You just don't want to be laughed at. And we grew up with that. We grew up with bullying. It's a tough love. Your parents tell you this in your face. And it's like, we really didn't want to be the center of attention for that situation. Well, I didn't want it to be. I moved to Ireland with you, Maho, in 2013, and I never said that I was HIV positive to anyone for years, until I heard and I saw Veda and Robbie doing the podcast, and I had the privilege to be one of the first guests and tell my story publicly. You guys have no idea how my life fully changed after that. My mental health healed and my artistic practice took a different route after that, after being here. So this that we're doing right now is a full circle moment for me, because I was sitting on the other side, or I've been sitting from the other side for a long time, and now being sitting here kind of like hosting and interviewing to talk about Venezuela, the country that we're from, and that we had to leave because it wasn't our choice. We had to. It's very important to say that over 8 million people left Venezuela in the last couple of years. It's a mass exodus, and they all had to. It wasn't just because they were planning to move abroad or they wanted to just have a change in their life. No, they were looking for a better future so they can survive and also help the people that they're still living there, their families, their relatives, their friends, and people that they can support from them from living abroad. So this is very important to talk about. And as an immigrant, how do you guys feel? I know you felt so welcome in Ireland, but how is it in general to not feel that you're not belonging? For example, in my case, for so many years, I was like not interested in going back to Venezuela or visiting, or like not really watching the news, not really connecting to any of that, just because I was trying to find myself here and trying to engage with this culture and kind of understand fully how things are going on. But at the same time, you feel like this displacement in your heart that you don't belong here, but you don't belong there. You're like in the middle of nowhere. How do you guys feel about this?
Yeah, I mean, I'm coming from lawyers and politics family. My dad was a political persecutor back home. That's basically one of the reasons why I came. My uncle was killed outside of his house while drinking coffee by government forces. And then right after that, my dad said, I have to go because they're going to kill me as well. So, you know, I remember being in the journalist work that we used to do for the TV channels back home, and we met my dad in the press conference. So I'm super scared, like, to go back because I think I could be identify with all these movements, and then I could be taken as a prisoner, which is the reality of many Venezuelans at the moment. That kind of force you to adapt, and if you don't adapt, you have to adapt, and if you don't adapt, you have to adapt, because there's no other options, you know. Thankfully, I got to have my family here. I have a husband and a daughter, but from my mind, it doesn't come off the idea to coming back one day. I've been 13 years without being in my country, and I even say, and I want to cry because it's heartbroken, you know. Like, I would love to go, but I can. I'm very hopeful with what's going on at the moment. Finally, the head of a snake is cut. So Maduro is in jail, and his wife, which have caused so much suffering to our whole country. There's still a whole organization in there that is commanding the repression and commanding all of these atrocities that are happening to Venezuelan people. But I think there is something happening. As much as people criticize the politics and the way things have been done, I know it's not the best, and I'm pretty sure any Venezuelan would like the United States to go in and get part of this, but it's what it is. You know, if it wasn't because of this, we probably would be at this time, most of us dead or in a different circumstances, right? So we're thankful for this, and we really hope good things are happening at the moment. Since the 3rd of January, around 400 and something, 400 plus political prisoners have been released. That wouldn't happen if Maduro is still in the power. There's still around 600, 700 political prisoners. I don't know exactly the names, but it's around that number that's still in jail. They have created a law called amnesty law that apparently exonerates all of these political prisoners for their charges. But it's a law that is it doesn't benefit everyone. They choose who is going to be benefited or not. And to be honest with you, most of Venezuelans would think that you shouldn't have make a law in order to give people freedom, because we are all as humans entitled to be free. And that's a concept that governments and people and everyone have to understand. Back home, I didn't feel free to be myself at all. at all. I see I'm 41 year right now, and I had to have a child and go through all that process and live what I lived to understand that I can be myself, and it's nothing wrong with that, you know. And then back home, I can imagine people as us, as queer and everyone, whatever, whoever is there. You cannot be 100% yourself, you know. And then I think that's something very important that not just in Venezuela but everywhere people have to understand. There is an autonomy, there is a individuality of people that it needs to be led and be whatever people is, you know.
Yeah, thank you for that. And for touching and talking about political prisoners, and we're gonna talk a little bit more about them in a minute. I just keep interested in knowing how a Venezuelan immigrant feels included in Ireland. How do you feel?
So, you know, it's very interesting, and I think you both probably feel something similar. It's crazy to be scared of coming back to the place where you were born. Yeah. Like, there is, at the beginning when I came here, I had so many nightmares where I thought I was back and I couldn't get out. Like, there were so many nightmares where I was like, oh my God, I'm back in Venezuela, and it feels so real, you know. But then for some reason, there is no way of escaping. And then you wake up like either crying or like scared, or you like, there's so many times that I woke up and I was like, oh my God, like, I'm actually here, you know. And that feeling is, it's very strange because you shouldn't be scared of your home, you know, and that's just only because of the government. You know, you can see how the government stripped us of everything that we grew up with, you know, and most because all of us are like over 30. So we grew up in a Venezuela that was so beautiful that I think there was so much, and seeing everything kind of withering away and being destroyed and sucked in and then vanish in front of our eyes is crazy.
Devastating.
It is, you know, and even now, 10 years after, you know, you look at pictures of places that we used to see that were so beautiful, so green, so vibrant, completely like dried out, you know. I think it's very bittersweet to leave your country because you need to survive and you need to find a way to survive, you know. There's nothing else. That's why we are here. That's why because we know that being back there, being queer or not being queer, like, is just really freaking difficult, you know. And so coming to Ireland, I have always felt safe, which is very strange. At the beginning, it was a bit scary because it's a whole different country, a whole different language, a whole different people, you know. You like totally in like strange waters, you know. But people here are so welcoming, like in general, you know. And again, coming from the airport, seeing an ad of like a couple there, then you're like, okay, I'm in a place where I don't need to at least hide that.
Yes.
So it's one less stress, which is a very big stress, because being like queer in Venezuela is maybe more back then. I don't know how it's now. Yeah. I'm actually not much updated of how things has changed when it comes to queerness in Venezuela. But back then in Venezuela, being gay, you know, I have been discriminated from hotels where I wanted to stay with one of my partners at the time. You know, I remember coming to one hotel at night for us to stay.
El Dólar?
Oh no, I don't know actually. Like, I don't know, but you know, like we came into the place, you know, and we're trying to find a place where we could stay together. And I came into the reception and I said like, hey, she's like, oh, I said, can I get a room for two? And then she's in the desk, and then she just like looks at both of us, and then she's like, she goes quiet, and then she calls someone, and then she's like, something like, Maria, can you come here for a moment? And then she's like, oh, what? No, you need to come and see this.
Oh my God.
And then she comes out, and then she looks at us, and she looks sort of up and down, and then she says, "No, I'm sorry, like you, we don't accept here."
Interesting, no? Interesting. We used to hide, like, we used to go to a hotel and hide in the car. One of those, two men going to a hotel for 4 hours. One of us will hide. The other one will,
go after.
Go in. No, because you can kind of get in the car and then you go to your own room. But one of us will hide. So it's like, I'm just coming to my room by myself. So the other guy, it's always that. It's been always like that.
I was like 19, I think, at the time, so we're just very innocent, both of us, like, but it was crazy because I never felt someone talking to me like if I'm no, because in Spanish sounds more harsh, because when they say it in Spanish, it sounds like a person, like you, like a thing like you, we don't accept here, and I think I've never felt so disheartened and so dehumanized in my life being so young. I have had guns pointed at me as well. I have had family problems because of being gay, rejection and like physical abuse, and so yeah,
it makes such a huge difference.
It's difficult.
It's being far away helps, but then it's funny. I felt like the first few years that I lived here, I felt so free, but the longer it passes, the more it hits you.
Yeah.
You start missing a bit more.
Yeah.
The things that you grew up with.
Yeah. You know what I really miss so much? The morning dew kind of air. When you wake up at 6 a.m, you open the window and it's just that warm, fresh air. Really miss that from back home. I was there last year, in 2024. And it's great. Like, people is trying to live like they're living their lives as much as they can. They're in survival mode. The country is dollarized, for some of you, though, that are not aware of this. And this episode is basically for this. We just want to make sure you guys understand both of the sides of the situation. In December, January 3rd, yes, President of the United States, Trump, bombed the country in order to detain Nicolas Maduro and the wife, which was necessary. It was due, literally. And this is the point that we really want to explain to people, because when we were sharing the news back in the day, when that happened, people will criticize the way that we were just kind of supporting Trump's actions, and we're not supporting Trump's actions. Trump hates immigrants in general. We can't support that.
It's racist as well.
It's racist as well, homophobic, insane. But we
more than likely pedophile as well.
As well. And for us, it's really important for people to know that it was so needed that happened in our country, because we've been trying to get rid of this government since the year of 2000, since 1999, when Hugo Chavez won the presidency of the country, and then everything started to go down. You might have your own point of view. People might have their own point of view. I had a really good friend of mine sending me a message I understand her point of view. She's like, I can't believe how you guys, I have so many Venezuelan friends, and you guys are sharing racist news pages. You guys are sharing Trump's tweets, and you guys are kind of celebrating this. Yeah, we were celebrating the Maduro. We never in our lives thought that we were going to be able to see Maduro handcuffed, moved to detained, and
28 years of repression is so long.
It's insane. And people say, yeah, but why you didn't do elections? So what happened with the other ways to get rid of him? We couldn't. It was impossible. Every single election was rigged. Every single election was rigged. Every time we had a candidate that was strong and in the opposition against him, basically they will find something to put him into jail or put her into jail. To all the candidates that we have, Leopoldo Lopez is still in jail. He hasn't been freed. He's still there for years, since 2008. 2014, is it?
No, he's free already. He's living in Spain with his wife, and he's still activist. But I mean, there's still other. For example, one of the most important cases at the moment back home is there is some people call the Guevara brothers. There are three brothers that are in jail. They are the longest people that have been in jail since the regime. They're 20 years in jail. The people that have been like that they have done nothing. You know, they're all the police and military forces that one day say, they told them, look, you have to cover drug trafficking, or you have to cover torturing, or you have to go kill these people. And they were like, no, I'm a military, I'm a police. That's not the law. And because they say that, they got put in jail. And these people are the people that is not covered under the amnesty law, and they pretend or they think they deserve to be in jail, you know. And it's not fair. If you want democracy, if you want peace, everyone that hasn't committed any crime needs to be out, and rules needs to be fair for people. I remember when like few years after I came, there were some protests. I think 2023, or I don't remember what was a year, but like a few years after I left, there were some protests in Venezuela, and people was again in the streets and trying to reclaim a change and all this. And I remember one of my friends sent me a message and it's like, you give up? Because I remember you and I were very activists back home, and we're doing a lot of things to try to capacitate people and learned things that we learned in the school and trying to help the society. We went to protest. We would do a lot of things to try to change the reality of people. But in some point, I think we give up. You know, I give up. I say, like, look, this is not going to change. We have done everything. And this person texts me on social media and told me, like, you give up about our fight. And it's like, I don't give up. I just don't think this is going to change now. Because as you say, we never thought this was going to change. I remember when you were diagnosed with the HIV, and we were in the car talking about what to do, what was next, and we had to go few days after you diagnosed back home. And I remember you were scared and thinking, like, I might just stay here. But from my point of view, as a, you know, person that I've been in this news and watching all this obsessing for a long time, and I knew that the destiny wasn't going to be nice for you, because how many people you know that have cancer or have other sickness, and the medicines basically are not there. Imagine if you lack of your medicine to survive. Yeah. What kind of responsibility I have as a friend, and what kind of responsibility have the society with you? Yeah. You know, like I saw this and I remember pushing you, let's go, we have to go to Ireland, you know. And thankfully you came here and then, you know, you like completely changed for the best.
I would say thanks to you more so. You know, this is a story that we wanted to mention here, and you mentioned it. It was so beautiful. I got diagnosed and we had everything planned to move to Ireland in October 17th, actually, of 2013. And I got diagnosed like at the end of September of that year. And you know what, well, for people that is not aware of it, when you get this diagnosed, you go, usually what you're supposed to do is go to the doctor and get the treatment straight away. Back home was like, you get to the doctor, but your name is put on a list, so you'll see when you're able to get the medication. The government didn't invest in medication for people living with HIV between 2014 until almost 2019. A lot of people just passed away, literally. And more so if you weren't living in the city, if you're living in rural areas, you have a lot of trouble to access to the place where you were meant to be collecting the medication, that people wouldn't, you know, they will give up. And also on top of that, the crisis, the years of the crisis between 2016 and 2019, and then, you know, the pandemic kind of like added all up. We see the images of people eating from the rubbish. There was no food, there was no medication, there was no power, no water, no services. So we kind of like make the right decision on coming home. But I really wanted to stay because, you know, when you're diagnosed with HIV, you feel like you're going to be rejected everywhere.
Exactly.
I asked my friend, am I getting tested when I arrived in Ireland? And she's like, what for? Are you crazy? What for? And I'm like, not just checking, like, you know, I didn't want to say it to her either. You know, I didn't want to say it to anyone, guys. I was terrified. Exactly. You have no idea. Like, terrified. We lived together. Like, you saw me deteriorating my body, just overworking without taking care of myself, without taking medication for a year. I just, without being with anyone, I would just go to work and go drink and then come home and then go to work and go drink and come home for maybe 5 years, 6 years. But I only skipped the medication thing for 1 year until you, again. That's why it's so important. Women in the history of HIV, women have always been there. They will always be mothers, sisters. friends, people that you don't know that ended up being your support is mostly women. And we really, really, really thank you as a HIV positive community now.
It's so important because, it's a legacy for a future. I have a daughter and I don't know what she's going to face in the future. What was the point of me being like, not supportive or like speaking out or speaking loud about the situation? Imagine what you lived back in the days, like almost 13 years ago. Imagine the way that is now. Now the budget for medication has been cut because they have decided to buy houses in, I don't know, Switzerland, or invest in horses for Maduro to keep in Fortuna in Venezuela. Like the things that they believe that are important. What is really important is just get the medicines to people and keep people healthy and look after you people, And if this wouldn't happen, it's still bad. I recently was looking at the news and they were really touching cases saying that within the jails there is people, a big population of a community of political prisoners that are with HIV, and these people are not getting treatment within the jails because they not allow them to have any type of treatment. How can you have a prisoner in a jail that is in contact in the worst condition that you could ever imagine, having this situation and not give them the medicine? And plus that they shave them all with the same machine, they share everything, and they're not medicated, And it's just like, for me, it's a way of torture.
It is a way of 100% way of torture.
It's a way of torture.
This is a prison, but it's also a torture center, and it's been discovered. Like, it's not a secret anymore. There are many torture centers where political prisoners are there, hacinated, in overcrowded spaces without any health care, including this situation. So we need medication for hate. First of all, we need every single political prisoner out of jail as soon as possible. This is the demand that Venezuelan people is asking today. And we also need healthcare for these people. Every single person deserves this. And talking about our people, right? I want to know, how is your family? Does your family still lives in Venezuela? Do you have any relatives there? How are they doing right now?
Some of them has managed to leave. Like from here, every Venezuelan person, people in every country, we just always send them money back, to try to help everyone, like whoever you can. I helped my family for many years for them to eat, because you couldn't sustain yourself anymore because of the inflation, eating absolutely everything within the country, So they have managed to leave to Spain. Thankfully, we're not in speaking terms right now, but but I'm glad that they, at the end, with everything that we managed to do, they managed to leave the country. It was when COVID happened, my mom almost died from COVID as well, because again, how when a country doesn't have the possibilities to be able to care for their people and so at the time, I think that was 2021 maybe, when she it was really bad. I needed to even go to GoFundMe to ask for money to help, because I couldn't sustain my whole family just by myself in here, with the medical bills from the COVID as well, So thankfully they're out of there, and I'm very glad, because it's just not good. I still have my auntie and some friends, so it's always difficult to don't know what is going to happen. At least now there is some things moving, but until I don't see absolutely everyone from the government gone, it's very hard to feel secure and safe of what is the future of Venezuela, because seeing the movement of US towards Venezuela for what it happened, it's like, oh yeah, we grab the main bad guy, but we left all the rest in there, So it's like, yeah, one thing is moving, but what is next? So until I don't see what starts moving, it's very hard for me to be like, okay,
Yeah.
you know.
I ask you about your families just to know, it's a very important thing. It's like a very nice insight. Nice for people to know inside of what's going on. That happened on the 3rd of January, and then what happened? What is going on?
They have mentioned that the says now who is marking the agenda of what's going to happen in there, and they have divided this process in three phases, and one of the phases is the transition, right? And the transition, from my point of view, is not just a government transition. It has to be a transition in everything. It's not possible that at what age we had when we left, like 27, 28, it's not possible that a 27-year-old, you don't know what to do if you get a diagnosis of HIV. I remember Luis and I running like a dogs on a room. What we do, Like there is no information, there is nothing. There is absolutely nothing. And I'm pretty sure 13 years after, there is still nothing, And this transition is not just about a government transition. It's about education, a social, health support. It has to be a change. We're not animals, And I know that it's not just in Venezuela, Africa, like all of these countries, the lack of health and social support in these matters. It needs to change, I think we need to give a little bit more value of life. Yeah. Because the fact of you have a diagnosis of HIV doesn't mean that you are destined to die. That means that you have a new opportunity to make it different.
Yeah,
as I see you and as I see every person that,
Yeah.
And the lack of education about HIV in Venezuela is crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
More back then, like I the only thing that I have close to when it comes to HIV and for me to inform myself, I had a friend who got HIV back then. And through him is that I learned so many things about it, and even educating my own family about it, because they were like, oh, don't share like glass of water with them. And I'm like, and then when you meet someone, it's like you start understanding, oh, wait, that doesn't transmit like that, So I needed to educate my family, being like, no, that's not how it works, and seeing the discrimination of it and just the how they make people feel that they're just less than, when it's just a virus like any other, just a very dangerous one, or used to be a very dangerous one before finally having the medication for it, But I had a friend of mine that they got HIV, and I remember for some reason, I don't know why, he was trying to find a job, and they needed for him to do like blood test for it, and then he was panicking because he was like, okay, Guillermo, how can I, I'm afraid that I won't be able to get this job because when they find out that I have HIV, they're not going to accept me. And he told me, like, do you think that you can go to that place on my name and do your blood test for me and pretend that that you're me? And I was like, well, if they said they don't want to check anything, you just go, ta-da, it's hello, ta-da, my name, you just get up, and I'm like, yeah, okay, I'll go. They do it, Yeah. And I went, and it's just crazy that you need to do something like that, because what the hell has HIV had to do with finding a job?
I know, right?
And
thank you for doing that for him.
I was like, it was just crazy to me to think that you need to do something like that, And then you realize this is just so cruel.
It is very cruel for people living with HIV. When we went back home in 2024, I met this guy that was just, begging for money on the street, by the beach, by the way. And he's, straight away saying, hi, I have HIV. You have any money? Give me $1. Please give me $1. And I'm like, hi, we had a chat. I'm like, you don't need to be telling people that you have HIV just in order to get a bit of money. And like, I understand your point of view, your need, but like, you're just scaring people with this. And he's like, well, I actually have AIDS. I'm ready to, to pass, to just let myself go. So you hear these stories that happened to you. Have so many of people that is just literally struggling today because they got a positive diagnosis and because they don't know what to do. But there are loads of different, in the other hand, there are loads of different organizations, non-governmental organizations that are supporting people. They are looking after them, and they are kind of like sourcing the medication from abroad, mostly from America or from these pharma companies, and try to bring it, to Latin American countries, mostly to Venezuela in this case. There is a network of different organizations that are bringing medication to these people as well. It's just because there is lack of medication everywhere in Latin America. Argentina is suffering right now with the cuts. The Milei, you are killing people right now. Let me tell you that. You are the responsible of this. As many of the Latin American presidents, you are responsible for the death of many, many Argentinians that are depending on the medication that you are not supporting and giving the funding for. And this is happening there. It's happening in Brazil as well. Brazil, one of the biggest countries of Latin America, they can't control it. They can't really take control of this. And the most affected, marginalized communities, Black people, indigenous, trans, sex workers.
It feels I'm not sure, but it feels a little bit like back in the 80s, like that it was. I mean, I know that was the biggest crisis. Like it is no comparison at all, but it feels at the moment like that because how can you explain in 2026 that people has no access to medicine?
Yeah.
Now, after all this situation in Venezuela with all the political prisoners and all the amount of people that is in jail, I think this is going to be a health outbreak.
Mm-hmm.
Because imagine the amount of people, 400. That I read the news last night, and they are ordering to let go 400 prisoners that been in there for different amount of years without medication or testing or anything, and they just go into society.
Okay.
And that is all in the Trump administration wanting to cut funding for like the HIV medication is correct.
As well.
I was like, how? It's like you just want people to die.
Yeah.
I'm like, it just it's so scary to be in a time where there is so much information and still the misinformation is going on top of it.
Yeah.
It feels like a silent cleaning.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's try to clean the world from Black HIV positive, trans, or what's the story?
Yeah,
but you know what? We're still fighting, and we're gonna be here,
Mm-hmm.
and we are immigrants. We're people of color. We're queer. We are everything that we wanted to be. And it's not only us. It's every single person that had to move from their country to a different country to find a little bit of a peace or themselves or future or whatever the reason you had. We're still going to be here. We're still going to be fighting for this. And we talk about, it's hard not to talk about Venezuela and go to the sad things and the sub stories because they're like we're surrounded by we grew up with this. We're in survival mode since we were born. Our parents were in survival mode. Our grandparents were in survival mode. So it's like a generational trauma that we come up, we're growing up with this kind of thing, and then you come into a country where things are working slightly better or differently or working in a way.
Like the minimum thing,
And you're carrying all that, you carry so much that you kind of it's hard to get rid of these things. But I want to know something, right? If you have something else to say, you can just say it. But I want to know how you guys incorporate your Venezuelan culture into your artwork, because you both do different artworks. You are both doing different things, completely different, from interior designing and floral designing and collage making and all these kind of things. Previously acting and writing and all that kind of things, and also dancing, pole dancing. Maybe you include some of the music. I want to know if you guys feel, how do you bring your Venezuelan culture to your things that you do today, even if you were so far from it?
Yes, I'm Venezuelan. Well, basically starting for the lack of expression back home is something that I have transformed here in a full-on expression and just do what you like and be free. I remember myself trying to be a fashion designer, and I was very little, drawing these little dollies and in my notebooks and going to drawings competitions in high school. And I loved drawing, and I wanted to be I wanted to learn how to sew right after finish in the high school. And my dad was like, "Oh no, you have to go to study something serious in college." And I was like, "Okay, I don't think I will never be serious, but yeah, let's try. Let's see what the definition of serious, So I started my career as a journalist. And then when I came to Ireland, I work a lot in services and everything. And then I had this need of expressing my voice. I remember when we arrived, we started with our theatre company, which was the most relief that we had from what we left and when we left back home, and then be able to perform here and write our own plays and put it on the stage. It was amazing, and it lasted for a good amount of years, and we enjoyed it so much. But I think with time, I kind of like felt that I needed something else, something that I can express myself even more, and I think it all started to waking up on myself when I got pregnant. I'm a very sensitive person, and I feel every single thing on my body. And I think the fact of having a child growing up in my belly and then experiencing all that, I'm very intense, and I feel everything super strong. It just wakes up all that it was sleeping inside of me. I believe so. So I started doing flower courses while I was breastfeeding my daughter, because I felt so useless sitting for hours and hours in a sofa just breastfeeding. And I mean, I knew I was doing a lot of work and then raising a child and all that, but in my brain was stuck there. I needed to learn something, and I started doing
The creative brain.
My creative brain was there. And I started doing this, and I started finding in flowers a proper way to express all those colors, combinations, and art that I had in my mind. So the rest is history. So I'm here 4 years after, keep expressing and creating. I love a flower installation for, musical videos or anything that needs a flower installation to the core. I also do collage. I keep writing because I never want to stop being a journalist. I believe so. I write for a magazine in the past called Spoken Black Girl in New York. It was a magazine based on the history of Black women. So we wrote about Black women histories. So I still write in there sometimes, and it's just been a creative path since I came here. So
it's very empowering. It's very beautiful to see it as well. Even if we moved here together, we were very close back home. But then you moved here and you kind of like building your own life, and you kind of separate a little bit. But like our WhatsApp chat is the same since 2013, since we're up here. It's like, never ending. You don't need to say hi. It's just like same old conversation. So it's really, really inspiring to see the future, to see you evolving, and to see what is going to happen as well. What else are you going to be doing in the future? What is it all going to turn into? Very exciting to see.
And bringing some of that to Venezuela when it's completely free.
And Guille, tell us about this.
So it's funny. I think for me, I started appreciating more Venezuela when I was away from it. I think being inside of it, I never felt like I fit in. I felt like the culture or what I like and stuff like that was so far away from it. Also because I couldn't be myself, fully myself, because you need to behave a certain way. So being away from Venezuela all this time has helped me to gain more appreciation for it. Like where I was born, the things they used to do, the music and everything, and I think, there is this Latino thing, of like being so vibrant and happy, and the music being so sad lyrics, but so you just like to move and dance. That's how I think we do things in Latin America in general, I think, and I think with the dancing, I'm a person who has loved dancing since I'm like very, very small, so I think being here, and I have a little show with my partner in Cork, and it's called Fuego and Flavor. Okay. So it's a show that he decided to create because of both of us, and he's like a Spanish Irish, and then I'm Venezuelan Irish now as well. So in that show, we're trying to bring that mix between cultures. So we have like music of different languages, and in that show I have managed to bring songs in Spanish that I grew up with and dance to them, and for people just to feel that little bit of what makes all of us. I think being like, Latino, European, East Asian, like at the end of the day, we're all the same. We're all connected. We all get driven by the same things, you know.
absolutely.
And I think that's what connects us, all of us. And music, dancing, like whichever way you express your art, like, you know, whichever thing that you can create is just. I think that's what we're here for, you know.
And there's also loads of similitudes between Latin American culture, Venezuelan culture, and Irish culture. That's why we get along so well. You know, we have the same kind of sense of humor when we understand.
Some crowd.
Some of the times, and most of the time, we don't get the joke, but when we get it, it's like, oh my God, we had the same joke. It's like we really share the same kind of things. And, you know, we are countries that have similar history. We were both colonized. We were both told what to do until we finally found ourselves, our voices. So, you know, we have a lot of things in common between the two countries. And what else I wanted to say, I want to thank you guys for being here. And I want to thank the guys also for allowing me, enabling me to host the show. You have no idea. You guys have no idea how this means to me. I used to work in TV for so long ago, and then you kind of feel like you don't belong, or you have to do many other things in order to survive, always on survival mode as an immigrant. Also, an immigrant from Venezuela, always on survival mode, and having the opportunity to talk about our country, tell our stories, talk about our families, what are they doing right now, what our country is going through, is a very, very special for all of us. I feel like it's an honor, it's a privilege.
Yeah, thank you so much to Veda and to Poz Vibe to open this space for us as a Venezuelan. I believe that just by the fact of being an immigrant in a country which is, as you said, we have a lot of similarities, but there's a lot of things that are not the same as back home, and the fact that we just here for 13 years or 10 years. So it's not. I mean, it sounds long, but it's not a whole life, and we still have doors opening for us and spaces, and I think that's very important. And I really hope we still have it, and we keep expressing ourselves.
Absolutely.
I think I wanted to say something like to our beautiful Irish people who are listening right now, that never change. Like, I think I've been living here for 10 years and I have never felt misplaced. Irish people have made me feel always so welcome. Like, anywhere where I was. I used to live in direct provision, in the refugee place for 3 years and a half, and I met wonderful people over there. They always made me feel at home. All my 10 years, every Irish person, most of them, of course, there's shitty people everywhere, but like, that's an overall thing, but most of the people that have been in this country has been like wonderful.
Yeah,
have never made me feel that I don't belong. They have never made me feel that I shouldn't be here. Like, and I'm always so grateful to that. I'm always so grateful to the people in here. They have been wonderful, and I think you also feel that as well. Like, it's so beautiful. So, thank you so much. Thank you, Vera, as well. Like, honestly, like, it's been. And
also the fact that you as a Venezuelan also opening this door for other Venezuelans.
Yeah.
Because it's my first time in here, for example, and it wouldn't be here if you wouldn't be here. So thank you as well.
Thank you. No, thank you. Imagine. Thank everybody. Thanks so much. We had a lovely chat. We touched so much. I feel like hopefully people is now a little bit more clear about what we are, where we come from. Why were we celebrating when Maduro went to jail, guys? We needed to celebrate, there's
so much suffering behind
there was so much suffering behind. There were so many stories that weren't aired. The people was not aware of this. So we really are coming from a place of our hearts. We really are coming from an educational point of view, orientational. We just wanted to let you know what's the other side of the story that people that still lives there, that story that people that had to leave, the stories that people that are still gonna be fighting for whatever happens there is very complicated, super complex, is deep, is super difficult to fully explain it, but this is what happened to us. These are our experiences, the experiences of our friends and family, and we really wanted to share that with you all. And I thank you guys so much for being here today. Thank you to Veda and Robbie for allowing us to talk about our country, our beautiful country, and for allowing me to host this show. I mean, little old me. And remember to stay positive, stay powerful, and stay Venezuelan. Yeah. Why not?
Dale, dale.
Somos venezolanos.
Gracias.
Thank you so much for listening to Poz Vibe Podcast. If you enjoyed this week's episode, show us you care by leaving a review wherever you listen. And don't forget to follow us on social media at Poz Vibe Podcast for all the latest news and updates.